doesn't really. It doesn't prevent me from sleeping. Interesting, really? Yeah, I mean, yeah, interesting. I've had like withdrawals, obviously from kratom, but I'm not prone to headaches anyway. But interesting, yeah. I've never gotten caffeine headaches, thankfully. Okay, I'm gonna probably do runs, but I don't know. Try and get Summit started. This is just kind of getting a bit silly with the money resets, but. What do you mean out of shit to do? You mean just no work to do for school? Oh, really? So where are you staying? Are you staying with your family now, or? Nice. Yeah, I know how that goes. Yeah, especially in like a graduate program, you can literally always find something to do. Since it's so individually oriented, or independently oriented maybe, but yeah, you really have to be motivated to get shit done. And yeah, it can be kind of, I'm sure your environment's maybe getting a bit stagnant. So, I feel you. I could technically be doing a lot of research and prep for the PhD, which I really should be. You know, I've been pretty much taking a break for the last 3 months, but it does feel a bit. I feel like I'm need to get my head about me a little bit with that. Yeah, it's really good. It's really good. You mean your like your desk in like an office and at school, or? That kind of makes sense, yeah. So are you still grading assignments from students who are like taking their classes online now? Or like, because I assume all the students at at least all the undergraduates at your school are. Okay, so you're just grading them online now. That's crazy. Yeah, oh, really? Grad classes, okay. Nice. Shit. Yeah, I've really got to start doing some fucking research. But I just have so many things I want to do, and I've been kind of working on those sort of independent projects, including this, of course, but some other things too. Polish and some other kind of independent reading, I guess, research. It is literally so insane. Polish, more than any other language, makes me wonder how these declension systems actually evolve naturally. I just don't understand it. It's like, how did this spontaneously occur? It just seems so much like some mad scientist contrived the fucking, noun declension system, but it literally came about naturally. It's insane. I think they're about the same because they have the same. I suppose it depends on. I think the difference between them would probably depend on which one you think is harder to pronounce. I think that in some ways Polish is easier to pronounce than Russian, but they both have some pretty complicated consonant clusters, and their grammar is fairly similar because they have the same number of noun cases. They both have 7 noun cases. Now, it may be that Russian has simplified the system because there are a lot of cases where 2 noun, for example, a very easy class of nouns in Polish has syncretism between the nominative and the accusative. That syncretism means that the 2 forms have the same form, or the two cases have the same form. So, for example, what the fuck is an example? Drawing a blank right now. Oh, it'd be like shoot, why am I drawing a blank? I literally can't think of one. It's like any word that ends with the suffix ość. Pretty sure has like solidarność, which you mentioned the other day. You mentioned you mentioned solidarity in Gdansk, the solidarity movement, in Polish solidarność. So it's that the words with that suffix have syncretism in the nominative and the accusative. A male name. Is that right? Maybe. Yeah. Maybe. Okay. No. You're right. Actually, you're totally right. How did you know that? Yeah, because male. Well, male inanimate, I think, have that pattern, but I don't know if maybe male names do too. I don't know. I haven't looked at a lot of names. Yeah. That's the pattern in Polish as well. At least for the masculine inanimates. No, they do have consonant clusters. Polish and Russian both have some very kind of like an example in Polish of a weird one is like mleko, milk. Obviously, it's literally the same root as English milk, but it just is ML instead of M vowel L. So the second consonant is in the onset, not the coda. Loco, exactly, yeah. So you know what I'm talking about. So it is a consonant cluster. It's just, yeah, consonant cluster, yeah. Just consonants that are in a row that aren't broken up by any vowel. Now, there's a weird sort of effect in Polish, well, actually all the Slavic languages where they have a historical reduced vowel in between certain consonants, and I think in the pronunciation sometimes you still get like a very faint vowel, but it's hard to tell, and I don't know exactly what the situations are. Shit, okay, yeah. No, one of the difficulties in... You don't have any crazy multi-letter consonants. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's literally just sh. So it's like the city, a city in western Poland, Szczecin. So that's one of the difficulties in Polish I'm pretty sure that it's not the case in Russian, but Polish has it's very bizarre. When I found out about it, I was like, how did I never know about this? Because I really like phonology, but I had never known that there was a language in the world that did this. They have how do I describe this? They have an alveolar series and a palatal series. So it's hard to explain. The best way I can tell you is they have sh and they also have sh, and they're different sounds. And so sh is spelled with sz or sz, and sh is spelled either si or spelled s with a little accent above it. Okay. So, and maybe Russian does have that. I'm not sure if they do though. I'm pretty sure that they have merged probably in Russian, or maybe because in Polish they arose from two subsequent series of palatalization. But Polish has that opposition in multiple places of articulation. No, I'm sorry, for multiple. It's Thursday, Friday, Saturday. They have it in, like, they have it for affricates, fricative, or I'm sorry, for stops. No, they don't have it for that. What am I thinking right now? They have it for voiced and unvoiced, obviously. Although the voiced opposition seems a bit more rare. Okay, 50. Um, 130. Okay. Okay, you're saying, okay, that makes sense then, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I was very surprised when I found out that that's I literally didn't even think that was possible. I mean, I take that back. I knew it was in principle possible, but it's just very, yeah, it's very unique. Well, no, they're called that in Polish too, but both of those consonants in Polish are actually soft. Well, actually, it depends on the situation. Sometimes they're soft. One of them is always soft, I think. The palatal one is always soft, but the alveolar one, I think it depends on I think it can depend on the suffix. And Russian actually has a much more prolific. Soft consonants are I think that opposition in general is much more prolific. It extends to all the other consonants, not just those two fricatives. Anyway, so I'm actually really enjoying Polish though. Obviously I'm doing it just because I'm, with a girl who speaks Polish, but You know, I've always kind of wanted to actually push myself to learn to like become actually proficient in another language. Because I've never really done that. You know, I've learned a lot like on paper about a lot of different languages. But I've never you know, I've always kind of stopped at a certain point. Well, no, in you don't have that opposite. You literally have an opposition between hard L and soft L. So you have like L and like E. Like generally, it's hard to actually do it without a vowel, but generally a soft consonant in Russian means that it's a consonant followed by a palatal, like y. So it'd be like, okay, I can't really do it, but it's like you have like p, you have like hard p, which is just, well, okay, you know what I'm talking about. So it'd be just like p when followed by an a or something. It's just pa, but then when it's soft, it's you know, it's followed by e and it's p. You know, you get this a very slight like, you know, palatalization. This should be 8. Yeah. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, or yeah. Kind of a little bit like Japanese, but it's just oh fuck me, I forgot how to. Because obviously Japanese has the palatalized series. Yeah, and that's right. Yeah. Russian, yeah. I don't really know a lot about the Russian orthography, but yeah, it's much less of a thing in Polish. It's just it really just affects certain suffixes. You just kind of have to know, okay, this consonant is treated as hard in this by this suffix and treated as soft by another. One, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, actually, in some recent research I've read, actually, that my professor from Michigan State did, he was comparing palatalized and non-palatalized phonemes, and he used Russian and Japanese in the same. Pretty sure he used Japanese. Actually, I'm gonna do this. No, I skipped them here. I skipped them. Whatever. We're just gonna follow this. Because they have that, yeah. Yeah, they have that exact commonality. Actually, I'm just gonna do this right now. Wait, what? Wow. I'm stupid. Fair enough. But yeah, no, Slavic language is very cool. So how come you know so much about Russian? Did you just do a lot of reading about it, or how many vowels does Russian have? Because that is one thing that makes Polish fairly simple, is that it only has 6 vowels. Oh, really? That's cool. Okay, so far I think I've counted everything correctly. Yeah, Polish has just regular a, I, u. Actually, I'm just gonna go here. I should have done this already, but it has regular a, I, u, e, o, and then I. Basically, at least that's the way I pronounce it, because that's the easiest way for me to think about it. It's like English I in bit, but I think it is actually closer, maybe. It may be between that and schwa, I think. When I've talked to Veronica about it, and also some linguistic descriptions I've read of it suggest that it's closer to schwa. Yeah, it's such a long text. Oh wow, do they really have that many? I actually did not know that. Oh my god, no. Oh no, right. It's 14. Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know how they're pronounced. Wait, I already did Tim, right? Yeah, I did Tim earlier. Ah, okay. See, so some of those are actually not separate vowels. They're just vowels preceded by yod. So that's a bit. Right? Am I wrong? Am I correct? Yeah, I was gonna say. I figured that they had the same, because that's how Polish spells it. Is yeah, or not yeah. They spell it with the letter Y. So then those vowels that are preceded by the y are they make the preceding consonant soft, right? $17, $18, $19, $20, $21. I'm actually gonna harvest here. Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah. Let's see, how short am I gonna be? They sell for. How much do they sell for again? 80, I think. I'm short 50. I'm short. That's okay, I guess. Okay, so that's kind of weird. Okay, oh, I see. Okay. Interesting. $60. So I'm only 30 short. Nice, cool. I'm only 30 short. Nice. Okay, that's No, I find the Slavic languages interesting. I'm actually very. I mean, I'm not like. I don't think of her as some kind of science experiment, but I'm very kind of intrigued by Veronica, and I think it's kind of a cool. It's just kind of a neat thing to get to know somebody who comes from has a pretty different linguistic experience from myself. They're interesting in that they have what you have to learn is they have a perfective imperfective alternation. I think that might be what you're talking about too. I don't know what you mean by 2+ then. But the main distinction is that they're is perfective imperfective. So what that means is, if that makes sense. Maybe you already know what I'm talking about, but what do you mean? What's failfish? Yes, yeah. There are cases. I think you might be thinking of determinate, indeterminate, and Polish only has that with a kind of a small set of the verbs. I'm trying to think of how would you describe it. I read it described. It's usually just with a few verbs of motion. Yeah, it's usually just with a few verbs of motion. And some other ones like swim. Swim can be used to mean float. It's like pływać, płynąć, or something like that. I really need to like study much more seriously. Oh yeah. No, it is, yeah. No, seriously, yeah. No, when I came across some of this stuff, I was like, oh my god, like. But at the same time, I do take it as kind of a neat little challenge. I mean, it's like, it's not like learning Spanish. I mean, Spanish was literally, I think it's definitely one of the easiest languages for an English speaker to learn. And so for me, yeah. I mean, you do, yeah. So I mean, you do have different endings for Tuesday. You do have different endings for all the different persons, but there's 4 declension patterns. There's actually 3 declension patterns, but one of them has a slight variation to it. It seems like it just didn't undergo, like, one of the declension patterns clearly historically had a nasal consonant at the end of the first person singular, and that I think it's usually an has been lost for all of the verbs except for a small class, which they say makes up a 4th conjugation class, but it's really, I think it's pretty much just a... See, this is where I start to lose count. I think Italian, French, and Spanish are roughly all about the same. The reason why I say Spanish is so easy is because the pronunciation, at least in my opinion, this is just my opinion, I think it's incredibly easy, especially for an English speaker. Very, very simple. You can complain about the r, and that's about it. The trilled r is pretty much it that makes it difficult, in my opinion. I hate French personally. Yeah, I just don't like how French sounds, if I'm being like completely honest. And yeah, there's at least, I think, some consistency as to the irregularity. English spelling is just, you're literally just essentially spelling things the way they did in the 15th century and pronouncing it the way you do in the 21st century. It's actually just kind of a mistake, if you ask me. I mean, the spelling should have been reformed. If you were learning Polish and the spelling hadn't been reformed for, 600 years, you'd be pretty pissed if you were actually trying to learn the language. Well, see, if you're talking about the grammar, I would actually say that English grammar is honestly maybe I just have this Polish. I'm just thinking about Polish now, but I think of English as incredibly easy in a lot of ways. I don't really know. I'm not sure if I quite understand where it gets this reputation of being so difficult. Extremely simple, yeah. The only real difficulty that I see for speakers of a lot of other languages is the number of vowels. When I listen to especially Romance speakers trying to produce English, they just end up, they're only using 5 vowels. They don't know how to say ah. They don't know how to say ugh or eh. This is Thursday, right? Friday. What kind of irregularities would you say, for example? Okay, that's true. I mean, you do have irregular. I'm telling you though, there are a lot of apparent irregularities in Polish that are essentially historical vowel alternations that have now been fossilized in the paradigm, and you just have to learn that for all the verbs. And there are some patterns, obviously, but it's like learning dive, dove, and speak, spoke, things like that. There are some consistencies in some of the. Yeah, I mean, it's weird, but it comes from a historical rule that's just. Well, yeah, that's a Latin plural. That's why that one is. That's true. That's true. I don't know. That's true. Yes, because yes, I will give you that. At least because it has imported so many words from so many different languages. But you see that being regularized. For example, people only say data are if they're academics. Everybody else says data is. So that has been regularized, even though it's a Latin plural. No, so there's certain. Yeah, I understand what it comes from. Yeah, right. Yeah. So yeah, you know what I'm saying, but. So some of it's getting regularized, but yeah, it's true. You don't say matrices. You say matrices, and I think that sounds better to me. I definitely say matrices. Canola. I don't even know what that is. Is that a real thing? Oh, okay, yeah. Is that Italian? It must be Italian, right? Oh, okay. Yeah, I would believe that. That's 5. Right, exactly. But at the same time, those are mistakes that if you make them, sometimes even native English speakers make some of these mistakes, or quote-unquote mistakes. I wouldn't call, if you say data is, I wouldn't call that a mistake. I would say that you're just trying to, you know, you're naturally trying to regularize the paradigm, just like, you know, because you don't know Latin. But some of the things you have to learn in some of these other languages, like I don't think it works if you make the mistake. I don't know. Obviously, it to varying degrees, obviously, but oh no! Almost made that mistake. We are pulling off on them, and we just do this. So we catch up on the rest of these guys. Yeah. It's true. It's true. It does have its fair share of irregularities, but I think the core grammar is simple. So I think that when it comes to learning how to express yourself on a basic level, I think it's easy to do that fairly quickly. The problem that I'm running into with Polish is that there are 7 cases. And the cases have there are so many different case declension patterns depending on what the noun is. And keep in mind, it's not as simple as masculine, feminine, neuter, because that pretty much just tells you what adjective you use, basically, the gender or the gender of the adjective that you use. You know, the declension pattern, you have some masculine nouns that share a declension pattern with some feminine nouns. They're just of the same declension class. And there's so many of them that learning to express yourself simply is very difficult. Like I'm having difficulty doing that. I just want to start actually saying some sentences, but it's very difficult because if I can only, I'm trying to think of an example. One example is, Gina. Fuck, did I actually? Oh no, I was already done with those. Okay. One example is the noun for book is a feminine noun, książka, and it has the declension pattern where it ends in a, and the declension pattern is such that the accusative ending ends with a nasalized e, so it's książkę. Papa? You mean, what do you mean? You mean dad? Someday. I think I miscounted something. It's książkę, and I'm trying to think of there are other masculine nouns that end in a that have the same declension pattern, but they're masculine nouns, which means if I was to use an adjective, the adjective would have to be masculine for one and feminine with the other. If you mean dad, it's tata, and I don't know. I assume it's masculine. Actually gonna give her a flower because I think I'm behind on her. I miscounted her somewhere, but I'm still just gonna count it 7. I'm not familiar with that noun though. It may have a cognate in Polish, but it may not be widely used. Okay, never mind. No, this is correct. This is correct. Okay, so I just haven't triggered Gina's yet, which means actually I am behind on Gina. Okay, that's it for her. Ah, shit. Yeah, but I think it's probably... It would be short for something. It probably, I think it'd be spelled S-A-S-I-A, Sasha, and it's probably short for something. It couldn't. I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so. There's a lot of names that end in sha, like Basha, Stasha, Kasha, and they're spelled S-I-A. Okay, this is Sunday, and I'm gonna go to sleep until Thursday. Is that right? Alright, yeah, I believe you then. Yeah, I was just assuming that it was of the same form as the other names I'm familiar with. But it's really hard to tell, because even there was one time I was having a conversation with Veronica, and it was one of the first times she spoke Polish with me. Just kind of, you know, asking me some simple questions to help me a little bit. And she asked me, I don't remember, it was like, co lubisz? Co ty lubisz? Słońce czy deszcz? And she said, what do you like, sun or rain? Basically, what weather do you prefer? And she said deszcz for like bad weather or rain. And I thought she said deszcz. So I googled it and I couldn't find it. She actually said deszcz. So these are the kinds of things you have to... I thought it was D-E-S accent, C accent. But it was actually D-E-S-Z, C-Z. So these are the... So yeah, what I was saying is, with respect to the name you're asking about, yeah, it's CZ. I'm sorry, SZ. Did I say CZ? I think I meant SZ, CZ. And of course she says SZ, CZ. Oh shit. Good thing I'm waiting. I guess that's kind of worth it to wait there. Hang on. Do you spell it borscht? What word? I'm not sure. What word are you asking about? The soup? I don't know. Shit, dude. Yeah, I've never heard of it. I really didn't, I'm gonna be honest, I did not know shit about Poland until I met this girl. So, I did not know fucking shit about Poland. I actually didn't even know shit about Polish from a linguistics perspective. I had never really studied the phonology of Polish. I was familiar with Slavic palatalization and things like that. Barszcz. Okay, that makes sense. This is gonna be another one of those times. I'm gonna hopefully not toss this frickin'. Good. Nine. Did I already give him 3? I can give him one more. I have an extra. Oh yeah, you told me that. I forgot you told me that you went to Warsaw that one time. Is that like a chili sort of thing, or like how would you describe it? No, I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure if I would put. I actually just the other day, it's funny you say that. I just saw maybe it was on Facebook. I saw like a video of like a I don't know, cooking chili or something. Oh no, it was some joke video about a character from The Office, Kevin's chili, and he put sour cream on the top, and I thought, I guess I've heard of that, but oh, that sounds really good. Yeah, when I was in Poland, I was never a huge beet fan when I was a kid. My dad always really liked beets because his German, relatives, or I don't know if it was his great grandma or whatever, he had just gotten, kind of gotten the taste for beets. And so I was never a fan. Didn't dislike it, but was never like one of my favorite foods. But Veronica's grandma had some really good homemade or home pickled, I guess, beets. It's Saturday then. I'll just give him this, even though I think I'm already over, but that'll cover it. Oh shit, I should actually... Okay, I know what I'm doing. Hang on. Oh, that looks really good. Wow. I can afford the time to do that. Yeah, that looks quite good. Ooh, okay, nice. Yeah, I don't have any Polish family or anything like that. All of my, you know, my dad's done a lot of ancestry research as well. I was actually just looking at the family tree today, showing my grandma, and um, we, oh my God, I had to sell at Ronald's. I just realized I fucked up. That's okay. I'll have to go to Ronald's stuff. Well, no, I can't. Shit, I'm gonna have to do it the next day. What's today? Damn it. It was Sunday. Fuck me, dude. Well, I screwed up because, well, I have a few days. I can, yeah, okay. Yeah, I won't do it right now then. Is it more? Okay, okay. Yeah, yeah, all my relatives are really. Let's get this Sunday. That's fine, Sunday. All my relatives are basically German and French and Scottish. Or all my ancestors, I guess you'd say. Georgian, huh? Interesting. No, 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 no. Believe me, I checked. No. Yeah, I do not. No, that's yeah. That's the interesting thing is obviously the. You know, there was previously a lot of Jews in Poland, and I'm not sure. There's supposedly like almost none there anymore at all, but I don't know how many might be in other Slavic countries. Obviously, the funny thing is that Auski or Ofski is obviously a Slavic suffix, but it's become associated with Jews, but I got to imagine it's just because they migrated to those countries and then took on those names. Yeah, I would believe that. Actually, there's a lot of exchange between. There's a lot of linguistic exchange between, especially from the Poles, because they're obviously the easternmost Slavic country. But yeah, between the Poles and the Germans. So obviously Yiddish as a Germanic language. You know, fair bit of exchange there. I checked Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. It's supposed to be Friday the 10th. Yeah. Nudnik, yep. Schlep, I think is a. Are you familiar with the word schlep? And actually, Veronica told me that her grandma uses a word like that, and I can't remember what the Polish word was, but it looked like it was basically the same exact word because it means carry, basically. Schlep is like drag, or you know, kind of laboriously carry something, you know, schlep your backpack around all day is to like, you know. I'll talk to Gino one more time. Not like I want one that time, but. Schmuck, you know, I don't know. Overall I don't know much about exactly how Yiddish is related to Standard German. I just know that it's a Germanic language just from reading, just from what I've read. But is that right? Yeah, no, I would not be surprised if it had a lot. Well, hopefully we didn't miscount here. That's all I can say. Probably didn't. I actually think I counted pretty well this. I did overgift in some instances, just to be careful. This is potentially a decent looking run. I don't remember what day it is though. It's Friday, the 10th. Saturday. But yeah, so there's a decent amount of a really interesting loan I found in Polish. The word for money, pieniądze, is an old Germanic loan, and it's related to the English word penny. There's a bunch of other Germanic loans actually in Polish. Yeah, so just weird things like that. And what's interesting about it is it can give some evidence of the accuracy of old reconstructions because because it was borrowed so long ago. So if you know how to trace its changes over time, then yes, and actually the Polish word for gold is the word they use for their currency, złote, which is a word for gold also related to the word for yellow, żółte, and żółte is actually related for the English word for yellow. It looks like it's not, but it is. I looked up the etymology. It's an interesting series of sound changes. That's what I find so cool about Slavic. It's like it's just distantly related enough to złote, spelled with the L with a slash. Yeah. It's just distantly related enough that it's hard to see the cognate for what it is, but 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Yeah, usually you can guess, but if in this case they're just different enough that you can't. It's just distantly related enough that it's difficult to the sound changes have obscured. Okay, this is actually... Yeah, I'm trying to think of some other weird cognates that I've found in Polish that are like kind of blow your mind a little bit if you know about the sound change. I mean, they make sense if you know about the sound change. It's a little bit less mind blowing, but it's still crazy that it went through that series of changes to become what it is now. Missed it. Probably maybe fill the water first. What exactly was the sound change? So like for example, you had a series of consonants in what in Proto-Indo-European that they call the palatal-velars. So they were palatalized velars. And the velar consonant is like k or g, made in the velum in the back of the throat. And in some daughter languages, they became plain velars, so they lost their palatalization. And in other languages, they became fricatives. So the classic example of that, this created what they call the centum-satum split, or it's actually more appropriately, it's the kentum-satum distinction. And kentum languages, I'm trying to remember this correctly. Kentum languages merged them with the plain velars, and satum languages turned them into fricatives. So I believe the Slavic languages are satum languages, and English is a kentum language. The reason, yeah, exactly, C-E-T-U-M, yeah, okay, waterfall. And the reason why it's called that is because that's the word for 100, and that created a split where you can tell which group a language falls under within Indo-European based on their word for 100. So the word, it's a bit obscured in nowadays, because in some cases that daughter phoneme changed again. So in the case of English, it's 100, but h historically comes from a h, which historically came from k. So it technically is a kentum language because the palatalized velar became a stop, became a plain velar. Whereas Polish, the word is sto, and so you can see that it's a s now, came from a palatalized velar. But I'm trying to think. There's some. I think żółte might, the word for yellow, might fall under that. Good. Two, of course. Literally, dude. Okay, this is like a minute time loss, but this is still a good run. Well, that really sucks because this is otherwise a really nice run, and this would still be tough to get sub 120, but this is This was otherwise a great run, but I'm literally losing a minute now because I have to reboot because I got bad luck on the rain. Anyway, so I'm trying to think of another example, but I believe it is because yellow, I think probably comes. I'd have to look up the etymology of yellow again, but and the other weird thing that comes into play with Slavic languages in particular is you also have a lot of metathesis going on. Metathesis is when two sounds that are adjacent swap positions. So an example of that would be like milk, mleko. There's been metathesis either in, I actually don't know what the original is. Actually, that might not be metathesis. There might have been a deletion. 2, 23. You have got to be kidding me. You've got to be kidding me, dude. You've got to be kidding me. So nice. Another minute loss. Amazing. Yeah, so in that case, it might be a deletion, but there's some other... this is actually such a farce, because this was otherwise... I'm actually otherwise fairly happy with this run. What am I saying? I'm trying to think of another example of metathesis, though, in Slavic from... Because I think, I think there may have been a... Another really cool sound change in Polish that I find interesting. I don't think that Russian has this sound, or at least it didn't have this. Maybe this just didn't. Maybe the sound change just didn't happen in Russian. But a palatalized rhotic, so an R, r, that was palatalized became zh. It's RZ in Polish, so you get a lot of really weird clusters with that. 22. 23, 24, 25, 26. Literally, dude, literally lost like 2 minutes because of... And I actually saved. Imagine if I hadn't saved. I mean, this would just be a dead run, but yeah, it's literally like, I just don't understand why does that shit have to happen. That's yeah, nice, fat, yes, exactly, yes, yeah. A New Yorker, or just common among African-American speakers in general. But yeah, axe for ask, yeah. Common metathesis in English, yeah. Damn it. This was, otherwise I would actually be like, almost like, satisfied with this run if I... Yeah, oh yeah. That's like, yeah, it's I don't know that it originated in Black English, but it's like... It's almost like a African-American vernacular, like shibboleth. It's like, gives you away as some, yeah. No, I'm sure it's a New York thing too. I mean, it's a common... The thing is like, because sound changes are based on phonetic factors that are common to all people, it's not unlikely that a sound change could arise twice independently. In fact, it's happened countless times right throughout history, but... Wow, that is so shit. This was actually a chill run, but that is so shit. I can't emphasize enough. I had to reset, I had to reboot twice because I can't get rain all the way through the rain season. And that is absolutely crucial for this ending, so that's really too bad. Anyway, so why is Jesus pronounced the way it is in English? You mean with the initial consonant? The initial consonant just underwent fortition. So I was actually just talking about this with my grandma today. She asked why I-N-R-I, I think is what it is. Yeah, it is. I-N-R-I, INRI, is written above the cross in Christianity because it stands for Jesus Nazareth. It's like basically Jesus of Nazareth, King of the Jews. Rex Judeorum, or whatever it is. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it just underwent fortition. So it was a you know, originally E obviously stands for a front vowel, or the letter I stands for a front vowel, E, and then when it becomes the onset of, when it's at the beginning of a word, it's the onset of the syllable, so it's yeah, and then over time, for whatever reason, even linguists don't really understand why some sound changes happen and some don't, even though, it very well could. For whatever reason, over time, the target just gets closer and closer together until the tongue is actually touching the palate. Yeah, Inri is Latin, yeah. But I'm saying that Jesus is obviously a Latin name. I actually don't know when I split for this. How am I not losing more time? This is actually insane then. This literally would have been sub... Are you fucking kidding me, dude? I am shocked. I am fucking shocked. Oh my god. That is so disappointing. That is so fucking disappointing. Well, maybe I just lost less time than I thought I was supposed to. Right. Yeah, I understand that. I'm not saying that the etymon is Latin. I'm saying that the word as we use it today came to us through Latin. So as far as whatever sound changes applied to it, they proceeded through Latin. So it was borrowed into Latin from Greek. So, but it's true. Yeah, the etymon is Greek. So anyway, it just underwent fortition. You can think of a lot of other, any English word from Latin that ends in ject, like project, or actually I can't think of any more. I'm trying to think, what's another one that has project, deject? I guess dejected, yeah. Reject comes from yet, which was IECT, not JECT. I actually don't think that Latin used letter J. I think it was just I, and then because it was just a front vowel that became a glide in onset position, or in syllable initial position, basically, because it's becoming the onset, and then it underwent fortition. Yeah, that sounds right. That seems about right. Well, this is really too bad that I lost all that time, because this would have almost been sub 120 maybe. I don't think it would have been. Damn it, that's so annoying. Anyway, so, I don't know. So wait, do you speak Chinese? I mean, or Mandarin, or whatever it is? Whichever, I would assume it would be Mandarin if you did speak, because I know that's the most widely spoken Chinese language, but... Okay. Yeah, see, for me, I'm just like, it's been such an interesting experience, like, kind of meeting these people who speak these other languages, and obviously they speak my language, especially in a city like Edinburgh where there's a lot of immigrants, and it's just like, I understand why everybody speaks English, and I understand that, like, I remember I took an English speaking course, an English teaching course last fall, like about 6 months ago, 3 months ago. I finished it maybe 4 months ago. and there was an Italian dude in there, very cool guy, quite good English, but obviously still had a noticeable Italian accent. And he would always just tell me, you know, you have no idea. It's such a benefit to you that you're a native speaker because, you know, especially when he wants to become an English teacher, and I think he's has had some opportunities so far. He's not sure where to go with it yet, but you know, ultimately, the best places to teach English, especially in English-speaking countries, they want you to be a native speaker, or they want you to have a lot of experience. So a native speaker, a native level of fluency is a big advantage. And he would always tell me that, and like I understand that, and I appreciate that, and I guess that's great, whatever. And I like English, I think it's cool, but I just feel so linguistically impoverished, to be honest, being a native English speaker, because there's also no, like, what I notice is if you're a speaker of another language learning English, there are, like, especially if you move to an English speaking country, there are like countless opportunities to speak English, right? In fact, you're almost like, if you want to be educated in the world today, it's almost like you have to learn English. If you want to be part of the global conversation, you have to learn English, you know. But there's also, by the same token, I mean, it's a big kind of imperative to learn the language, but by the same token, there's really a lot of materials available to learn it and a lot of opportunities to use it. Whereas, it's like, if I want to learn Polish, it's spoken by like 50 million people in the entire world, and most of them live in one particular country the size of, I don't know, North Carolina. It's probably bigger than that. Nah, it's not North Carolina, but it's relatively small, right? So I have to go out of my way if I want to learn the language to contrive all these situations to use it. You know, not the least of which is finding real Polish people to talk to. Well, yeah, but that's also because India was I'm pretty sure it was a subject of the British Empire, right? So anyway, so it's kind of like I actually have a, just, I would say it's like jealousy, but I have kind of a small envy of people with native level fluency in other languages. Because I think it is a cool thing, and that's why I actually would like to push myself in this case to actually attain a pretty high degree of fluency in Polish, especially if I'm going to, you know, stay with her, which that's my plan anyway. You know, just, it's not like we talk to each other in Polish, but you know, if I was to spend I imagine I would spend a decent amount of time in Poland from you know, time to time, whether she would visit. She visits frequently, so. Right. Well, actually, I think a lot of people. I mean, my undergraduate thesis advisor is from India, and he's native level fluency in English and 2 other Indian languages. So I mean, he grew up speaking English. So it's definitely I think he obviously, I mean, he had the opportunity to come here to America. I think he comes from a fairly well-to-do family in India, but so I think in more affluent areas of India, it seems like English is a fairly primary language of instruction, of you know, even use among the people, probably. Really? Okay. That's interesting. That makes sense. I mean, from what you told me about your history growing up and everything. Yeah, I noticed just like a very mild, it's not even an accent, actually. It's like almost a dialect unto itself. Oh, no, I take that back. It is an accent, but it's not like a non-native accent that I notice among Asian English speakers. And some of them are actually, they don't even know any Asian languages. And I don't know if it's because of the communities that they speak in, or because of just like slight variation they pick up from their parent, maybe they're 2nd generation immigrants or something like that. Yeah, right. Yeah, so it's interesting. So I'm sure that you have clear native level fluency with it. I mean, obviously you have clear native level fluency with English, but this is the exact reason why linguists ask for monolingual speakers when they're studying a language. Kind of, kind of. That's kind of what I'm talking about, actually. And it's really hard to put my finger on. Cause I almost can't. It's almost like part of the diction. It's like I'm not even sure if it's a particular vowel difference or something like that. It's very interesting. Yeah, yes, exactly. That's a good yes. The cadence, yeah. Yeah, it's something to do with that. And I've noticed that mostly among like some of the Asian English speakers that I know that I've met from like east side of Michigan, because there's a lot of them in like around Detroit or whatever, that I would meet at university and stuff. Damn, I literally would have had the sub 120 if I just didn't get fucked. I'm pretty sure this would, yeah, I lost about, well, we'll see, but yeah, I'm pretty sure this was sub 120. That is actually very sad. I think, because I only lost like a minute and, I'd have to double check the VOD, but I think I lost, if I remember timing it, it's upwards of about 50 seconds to a minute for each boot, so yeah, it's about, yeah, minute 40 to 2 minutes, yeah. Yeah, so it's kind of a weird thing, yeah. But yeah, so anyway, that's really cool that you have that linguistic experience though. Because I was going to ask you about if you had like tried to study any languages seriously in your adult life, but it seems like you have a lot of varied linguistic experience anyway. The airhead broad, you mean just like dumb blondes? Maybe this wasn't. Actually, maybe it wasn't quite. Yeah, it's like a weird kind of people. For some reason, I hear people associate vocal fry with these girls, which is basically glottalization. And I don't. Maybe that's true. I've read studies showing this to be the case, but I guess that was never what jumped out at me as much. Oh my god, I literally lost that much time.